Guys, tell me, one free agent that's still available that the 49ers should sign.
Who do you
For
think?
me? For me, honestly, it's a drum that I've been banging since I found out that he's no longer on the team. It's AJ Bouye. I love Emmanuel Moseley, and I love the move that they made to bring him back. And I thought it was vital to bring him back because you don't know what you're going to be able to fetch on the cornerback market, right? And you don't want to be stuck, absolutely stuck, because it's just Tim Harris and Ken Webster, I believe, that are behind him. So bringing in Emmanuel Moseley doesn't make it a doomsday scenario if week one you have Emmanuel Moseley across from Jason Verrett. If you want to get greedy now, AJ Bouye could probably be had for nothing now at this point, just based on the market and how things are moving for cornerbacks. Keanu Neal just signed, right? At center, but it's taking a while for this to happen. So the market's decreasing. I think you can have AJ Bouye. Even more a reason for the discount. He can't play the first 2 games of the year because he's under PED suspension still. So, for me to take a chance on a guy who's 29, still can play. I know that he had a down year, injuries. There was some inconsistent play. But when I watched the film, I watched a guy who keeps everything in front of him, tries to make a play on the ball at the last second, can still play man, watch them move into the slot, cover tight ends, cover really good slot wide receivers. And when he was brought to Denver, he wasn't brought there as, okay, we've got AJ Bouye from Jacksonville. He's just going to lock everything down. It was supposed to be in unison with Bradley Chubb and Von Miller. Both those guys wound up getting hurt. So, I think when you put all of those things together, AJ Bouye makes a strong fit and a strong case to be, across from Jason Verrett. And that could be lethal if this 49ers pass rush even gets anywhere near 2019 levels.
So let's talk Bouye then. Blake, what are your thoughts on AJ Bouye? Do you think that he's a guy the Niners should look at? How do you think he played last year? Tell me.
Yeah, so he came to the Niners on, I think they traded a 4th to get him from the Jags.
No, the Broncos, you mean?
Or yes, the Broncos traded for him.
Yeah,
traded to the Jags for him. That's what it is. So yeah, I thought he was pretty solid last year. Injuries was kind of an issue with him. He was best when he wasn't the number 1 corner, and I don't think he would be the number 1 corner with Jason Verrett back. So therefore, I would love the signing for them. I know they got Emmanuel Moseley back. They lost Akella Witherspoon. So there definitely is a need in the secondary to have a guy like him. And I think as the number 2 cornerback, he would do a solid job. He wouldn't be just a world beater and like the best corner on the team or anything, but filling that solid role of a good cornerback too, yeah, definitely needed with the losses that they've had. And he's a veteran too, so getting into the system should be better than if they were to draft a guy and not really know what they're getting out of him.
Yeah. So Jason's just been banging the drum for AJ Bouye. I think that's one of Jason's favorite players in the NFL. I'm not sure about that.
No. It screamed fit though. Like it screamed fit. It screamed like, no guaranteed money, anything like that, just based on the PED suspension, the need at corner and stuff like that. So he's not one of my favorites. It's just when you see Denver get rid of him, I was just like, man, that really makes a lot of sense. And then when I dug into his tape and things, I was like, man, this really makes a lot of sense. So I mean, he supposedly was supposed to visit with the 49ers, so they're thinking along the same lines. I'm not going to take credit for it, but yeah, I hope so. Fingers crossed. Not one of my favorites, but I think he's a good fit.
Yeah, so I actually really like the fit. Jason was first to it, but I like it for somewhat different reasons. So if you look at AJ Bouye's career, he's a good corner, right? Decent size, decent athlete, good technique, very solid football player, solid tackler. He's always been a good player. And Blake talked about the number 2 corner thing. I wanted to talk about a different angle of it. When he played in Jacksonville, what did he have in front of him? Yannick Ngakoue, Calais Campbell, Dante Fowler. That's 3 elite, 3 guys who were playing very well. I would say Ngakoue,
Miles Jack.
Right, Calais Campbell were elite. So he had a dominant front 7 and a pass rush. And they did play like the Seattle scheme, though they played a bit more man than the usual Seattle scheme. It was single high. The Niners are more of a split safety defense, but Denver is a split safety defense. So there's fits that's going to work like that. I think that he's going to have a better pass rush. When you have Nick Bosa, Samson Ebukam, maybe you get something from D Ford, Eric Armstead, you have Kinlaw, you have Givens. I think the Niners pass rush is going to be dominant. Not as good as 2019, but I think it's still going to be very good, especially with DJ Jones coming back. So I think that's going to help him. And 2, the Niners, they don't ask a lot of their corners. And I think that, okay, AJ Bouye is not the kind of guy where you pay him $12 million and you say, AJ Bouye, we're playing DeAndre Hopkins this week. You have DeAndre Hopkins in man on an island, and we're going to play like that. No, the Niners play a lot of quarters. Quarters protects your corners a lot. They play match quarters. They play some trap coverages. I mean, we don't know what D'Amico is going to do. This is based on last year. They play 2-man, but all these things are stuff that I still think AJ Bouye can do at a high level. When you're not asking a lot of him, when the market clearly doesn't seem to be just asking for AJ Bouye, and he's a veteran player who's had consistent years of Pro Bowl type production, and he's a guy I'm sure he has a chip on his shoulder. He hasn't played well in a couple of years. So this is just an outstanding fit. I think that if the Niners were able to get AJ Bouye now, the money, the contract details, those things are not for me to talk about because it would have to be something very, very cheap. But I think that they could catch lightning in a bottle for a single season if they get AJ Bouye 1 year vet minimum, bring him in, and he comes in and plays as their number 2 corner.
That's it. That's all I'm thinking about right there. It's not a long-term deal. And hey, if after this year he taps into, you know, at least a little bit, because he's not the same guy from Jacksonville. Like, that's not right to say that, you know, even though he did have all those pass rushes there, which really helps. But if he does something and he really, you know, plays his way into another contract, that's another thing. But it's clearly just a 1 year, you know, see what happens. And if you get something out of it, good. If you don't, low risk, high reward type thing.
And then, Blake, I wanted to touch on one thing you said. I thought you brought up a great point with Emmanuel Moseley and the fact that the Niners just paid him. For whatever reason, they seem to have their reservations about making Moseley their nickel. I mean, in 2018 and 2019, he was kind of their backup nickel / do everything corner. But in 2020, after K1 got hurt and Jamar Taylor tore his ACL, there were a lot of different guys playing nickel, and their name was not Emmanuel Moseley. We saw Dante Johnson playing there. And so I actually think Emmanuel Moseley would be a hell of a nickel for this team. I think the best thing that Emmanuel Moseley brings is toughness and tackling, and K'Wan Williams brought those same things. I think Emmanuel Moseley is a solid corner in man. He's pretty good in zone. He's just a good football player for the 49ers. And I think that a cornerback trio of Emmanuel Moseley, Jason Verrett, and AJ Bouye, it's not going to be a bunch of world beaters, but it's going to be damn good.
For sure.